The average UK house price, as reported by the Land Registry, at the time of this recording is over £280,000 and rents have been pushed up. As a first-time buyer, you might feel like you're stuck between a rock and the proverbial hard place, but maybe you've heard of shared ownership? There are different rules on shared ownership in England, Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland. An option for first-time buyers that allows you to part buy, part rent a property. Could it be for you? We're going to shine some light on this in this episode of First Home Focus, helping first-time buyers, brought to you by Move IQ in association with Skipton Building Society. Shared ownership is a buying-renting hybrid. You start by buying a share of the property and then pay rent on the remaining share, usually at less than the market rate. Over time, you can gradually buy more of the property in a process known as staircasing. Shared ownership is principally aimed at first-time buyers, but in certain circumstances, you could be eligible too, so it's worth checking out. You must have the right to live permanently in the UK, and your household income must be under a stipulated threshold. In England and Wales, new builds are the most usual type of properties sold like this, although some older homes are available through housing associations. In Scotland, it's more common for shared ownership to be offered through housing associations. But in Northern Ireland, you can apply for co-ownership, as it's called there. To buy a property, as long as it's under a set amount and you can afford to buy between 50 and 90% of the property. So is this something you could consider? Let's examine the pros and cons. The first and most obvious plus is affordability. With the option of paying for just 25% of the property and a 5% deposit, it's within easier reach of most first-time buyers' budgets. Because it's more of an unusual way to buy, you may not find it as many mortgages are available on shared ownership properties, so you may not get the lowest mortgage deals. Being able to buy or staircase more shares over time as you can afford them until you own 100% of the property means you don't have to stretch yourself. But if you do choose to staircase and the value of the property has risen, you'll pay the increased price for further shares. A plus is that you can pay stamp duty just on the portion of the property you buy, which is great if funds are tight. Be aware though, if you decide to buy more shares later on and the property value has gone up, you'll have to pay stamp duty on that higher price. So some first-time buyers who know they'll want to staircase choose, if relevant, to pay stamp duty on the full price of the property from the off. A big plus is that the rent charged on the portion of the home that you don't own is generally cheaper than the market rents. In fact, it can be less expensive than renting privately, even with the mortgage payments factored in. Shared ownership properties are mainly leasehold, so you'll have to pay an annual service charge and maybe ground rent too for the upkeep of communal areas. And unlike renting, even if you only own a quarter of it, you'll be responsible for the cost and maintenance of your home. You can sell a shared ownership property whenever you like and benefit if the value has increased. But if you're with a housing association, it has the right to find a suitable buyer first in what's known as a nomination period. And there can be additional fees associated for the selling, such as the housing association's valuations and legal fees. You have the legal right to stay in your home as long as you keep paying the rent. The freeholder can't bring your lease to an end, as can happen in the private rental market. But in law, you will still be treated as a tenant until you own 100% of your property. So you could lose your property if you don't keep paying the rent. As you can see, shared ownership has its own specific rules, and so if you do buy like this, it's really important to make sure you have a solicitor who understands this kind of buying. Shared ownership might not be the answer for everyone, but it's certainly an interesting area that we're going to keep an eye on. Make sure you stay tuned to First Home Focus for more insider advice for first-time buyers.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Move IQ's First Home Focus podcast. We hope you found our tips and advice helpful. Remember, home ownership may be closer than you think, and we are here to support you every step of the way. So please don't forget to subscribe, rate and review our podcast so you never miss an episode. Until next time.